Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said some pretty wild stuff this weekend, including saying that Republicans wanted to stop FDR from running for re-election after he was already dead. Beto wants to break apart people's wealth, and Chick-fil-A is under attack once again. All that and more. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour.
And God bless the United States of America.
Okay, folks, welcome to the Monday show. And before we get into all the topics, I just want to say thank you for your support. We continue to grow with subscribers. The comments have been great. And I want to let you know that we're starting a brand new Patreon program. I want to give back to you guys, and I also want to encourage you to support the channel, because with your support, it's limitless what we can do. There's so many things I want to do with interviews and with new features and new segments with the show, and with your help, we can do that. And through the Patreon program, I am planning to give back as well, as far as behind the scenes, Q&A, live streaming, merchandise. There's going to be a host of things that I want to give back to our patrons, and I encourage you to sign up and please support not only the show, but the channel in general. You can find out information in the description, or go to patreon.com/BobbyEberle13, same handle as anything on social media. And let's make this grow. Let's see what we can do together as a show and as a channel, and really spread the conservative message across America. Okay, let's dive into our first segment, and that's Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, because she's known for saying some crazy stuff, and this weekend was no different. Now, on Friday, we talked about Chris Hayes, a host on MSNBC, who is all in on the Green New Deal. You know, he is just her biggest cheerleader. Well, Friday, he hosted a town hall in her district, in Bronx area, New York, and had her down, had an audience full of people. It wasn't really a town hall. It was more just like a big rally sponsored by MSNBC, hosted by her biggest cheerleader, Chris Hayes. And here's part of his intro, so you can see how this is going to go.
And what we have to do to avoid the most catastrophic effects of climate change is to cut emissions in half in 12 years. 12 years.
All right, so he asked a number of questions. One of them was the conservative response to the Green New Deal. And here is actually how she responded.
I didn't expect them to make total fools of themselves. I expected a little more nuance, and I expected a little more concern trolling.
Okay, Chris Hayes asked about, some of the problems with the rollout of the Green New Deal. And here's where you can tell that, actual journalism has gone out the window, because there were opportunities for actual questions, actual hardball questions, and anything that seemed remotely like putting her on the spot was couched in a kind of humorous or nonsensical or non-serious kind of way. And here's where he talked about the rollout of the supplemental document, the FAQs that went along with the Green New Deal, that said some of the outrageous stuff about farting cows and paying people who don't even want to work and things like that. Here's how that went.
The FAQ was withdrawn and said it was preliminary, a draft.
Yeah.
There was a lot of fight about that.
Yeah.
Do you think you guys rolled it out the right way? Did you bring it any on yourself?
What I will say is that I definitely had a staffer that had a very bad day at work, and did release a working draft early. So I get that that's what they're seizing on.
All right, first of all, way to throw your staffer under the bus. Second of all, here's what I'm seizing on, okay? The fact that it was a working draft, as she says, it doesn't matter. I mean, just the fact that at one point or another, whether she thinks that these ideas would have made it into the final draft, at one point they thought they were acceptable. They sat down at a meeting and said, hey, what about farting cows? What about paying people who don't even want to work? What about getting rid of all the airplanes? Man, those are awesome ideas. Let's put it in. Then the public reacts to it, and they say, oh, no, it's just a working draft. But those items were good enough. Those ideas were good enough to be put in any draft in the first place. It's just absolutely crazy. But then they get into some really interesting stuff, and they go into a Q&A section. And I just want to give you one of the questions and listen to this guy.
So as an economist, I can say that there's no question that we can afford to do a Green New Deal. It is reasonable. It is the appropriate type of response. But I'm curious to hear from you, what type of lessons did you take from the New Deal?
All right, so I want to stop with just that guy, because this is a guy asking questions. He says he's an economist, and he says there's no question that we can pay for the Green New Deal, that it's reasonable. I mean, what kind of audience is this? What kind of economist is this? Now, keep in mind, he asked about her thoughts on FDR during his administration, and her thoughts about that era of FDR. And here's her initial response.
When we look into our history, when our party was boldest, the time of the New Deal, the Great Society, the Civil Rights Act, and so on.
All right, I got to stop right there for a second, because the Great Society and Civil Rights Act occurred 20 years after FDR in the 1960s. So she's kind of got it mixed up. What even FDR was all about with his New Deal programs wasn't Great Society, wasn't civil rights. And so she doesn't even have a clue right there on what's going on, but she gets into the real doozy of it all.
We had and carried supermajorities in the House, in the Senate. We carried the presidency. They had to amend the Constitution of the United States to make sure Roosevelt did not get reelected. And there were so many extraordinary things that were happening in that time.
All right, so let's repeat. They, the evil GOP, had to amend the Constitution so that FDR would not get reelected. Okay, the proposal for the 22nd Amendment, which limits you to 2 terms, was first proposed 2 years after FDR died, and it wasn't ratified until 6 years after his death. So the only thing that kept him from getting reelected was death. Okay, so did she think he was still alive? Did she think that, he was only mostly dead?
Your friend here is only mostly dead.
I mean, this is just absolutely crazy, and it's the kind of things that she says over and over again. But it's not just limited to her. Now we can talk about Robert Francis O'Rourke, okay, Beto, because he was speaking this weekend, and just like AOC, whenever he speaks, some very strange things come out. And you have to keep in mind that all the Democrats for the 2020 presidential election are running as far to the left as possible. It's like they are, buffalo running towards the cliff, and Beto wants to take the lead. So here's something that he tweeted out this weekend that's just really telling and stunning, actually. He said, "The unprecedented concentration of wealth, power, and privilege in the United States must be broken apart. Opportunity must be carefully shared with all. We must all have the opportunity to succeed together as one country." Okay, make no mistake, the left is not about equal opportunity. That is 100% false. Their whole socialist policies and mantra and philosophy is about this idea of equality of outcome. All right, they want to take money away from people who make money, give it to people who don't, and it runs completely counter to human nature, and it has failed at every point that it's been implemented. You can't reward people for doing nothing. You can't penalize people for success, because that incentivizes people to continue doing nothing, and it disincentivizes people from working hard. And this is what, AOC and Beto and some of these others are proposing with, this taking away, restructuring of wealth and things like that. And luckily, that tweet got some pretty good response, and I just want to throw a couple up on the screen. Here's one. "So your wife's family fortune, which allows you to run for president as a hobby, that's going to be redistributed first, right? Or is it just us proles who have to fully share what we earn?" And here's another one that I thought was pretty good. "So, how exactly do you plan to break apart wealth in the U.S.? How exactly do we share opportunity? Tax the rich until there are no rich anymore? Take all the money from people that earned it and give it to people that didn't?" And that's what I was talking about earlier. You can't build a society in which you reward bad behavior or lack of trying and penalize those who work hard to make it. You know, some of these tax proposals are just absolutely insane when Warren and AOC and everybody is talking about, 70% tax on the rich and 90% tax on the rich, things like that. It goes counter to everything that we believe, and those policies should be rejected. AOC tried to defend it, saying, the Republicans are misleading. We're not talking about taxing 70% of everything you earn. It's a marginal rate. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's a marginal rate or not, because what that means is, when she says marginal rate, what that means is once you reach a certain income, this lower income might be taxed at a lower rate, but once you reach this certain level, $3 million or billionaire's tax or whatever it is, over and above that, then it's 70% or 90%, which, think about what that really means, okay? That means you're going to reach a point in the year where your income now has reached that level, that new tax bracket kicks in, and from there on out for the rest of the year, whatever dollar you make, most of it will go to the government. That's insane. No one should work any period of time where most of their money goes to the government, and yet that's exactly what they want to do. Beto wants to break apart wealth, and it's just absolutely nuts. Now, I want to move on to Chick-fil-A, because this is an issue that's really close to me, and it really burns me up, because we see more and more often that Christianity and Christians are under attack in this country. And the left tries to spin it in such a way that is so frustrating, and we have to fight back against it. Chick-fil-A is, probably the happiest restaurant that anyone could go to. And here is a report from Fox that shows some of the latest that's going on with Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A will no longer be opening up shop inside Buffalo Niagara International Airport after a backlash erupted regarding the company's alleged anti-LGBTQ rhetoric and views. All right, so here's more into that story. Hospitality management company Delaware North and the Niagara Frontier Transportation Authority, NFTA, gave the green light to renovation plans that would have brought the chicken chain to the Western New York air hub, New York Upstate reports. Assemblyman Sean Ryan, meanwhile, took to Twitter to call out the NFTA for the decision, arguing that it was wrong for the state-funded entity to do business with corporations who funded hateful and divisive groups, especially Chick-fil-A's financial contributions to groups that fuel anti-LGBTQ rhetoric. All right. So this isn't just up there in Buffalo. San Antonio City Council recently voted to not let Chick-fil-A into their airport. And so you got to wonder, what are these hateful groups that Chick-fil-A is sponsoring? What are they saying? What is so bad, And here is part of that, answer to that question. Think Progress published tax documents revealing that in 2017, Chick-fil-A Foundation gave over $1.8 million in charitable donations to organizations that have come under scrutiny regarding their stance on LGBTQ issues. Over $1.65 million of those contributions was given to Fellowship of Christian Athletes, which writes in the online statement of faith that it believes marriage is exclusively the union of one man and one woman, and believes sexual intimacy should be only expressed within that context. Okay, so their beef, their bad guy is CFA, or FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes. What they're doing so bad is just standing up for the traditional Christian definition of marriage. That is not hateful. If you disagree with that position, how about we debate and disagree, or just have a discussion? But to disagree with the LGBTQ community, they label that as hate. This is not hateful rhetoric. This is standing behind Christian values and Christian positions, traditional Christian positions on marriage. It is not hateful, and anytime someone says that, they should be confronted and shown the proper definition of marriage and the proper stance that Chick-fil-A lets anybody into their restaurants. Anyone can come in at any time. It does not matter. So, folks, we're out of time for today. We even had more segments to go into. We'll get to those on Wednesday. But I just wanted to thank you for tuning in. And again, please support the channel. Go to patreon.com/BobbyEberly13 and also share this video, leave your comments, and please subscribe. Thanks a lot, folks. I'm Bobby Eberly. This is a 13-minute news hour.